I'm still trying to figure out how Tyler Perry managed to turn the story of a sympathetic, struggling mother with 3 baby daddies into a fairy tale. And we have to ask the obvious question. Is this even remotely realistic?
In Meet the Browns, the movie, Tyler Perry doesn't necessarily paint Brenda as a victim, but rather a woman who understood how her choices earlier in life helped to lead to her difficult situation. So we're about to spoil Meet the Browns from 2008.
As you guys probably know, as the big Tyler Perry fans that you are, there is both a play and a movie, and we will cover the play next. But first with the movie, which came out in 2008. And so some of the themes that are involved are like single motherhood and societal judgment, deadbeat fathers, children born outside of the marital union, like as in side babies, and secret children, love when you're more mature and what that looks like, redemption after public failure, faith in the face of difficult situations. I mean, as usual.
Right. And you get the art of not being so subtle about things.
Right. And as usual, Tyler Perry just basically tries to tackle like 10 different things all in the same movie, all at the same time. And we've talked about this before. But in this film, overall, did you like the movie?
No. Because of those reasons, right? You have so much going on, like too many different things. And you're trying to resolve all this. You're trying to hit on every issue and you don't hit any one well.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
So I won't say that I dislike the movie, but as I always tell you guys about the Tyler Perry movies, I already know what I'm getting into. So I kind of go into it with that expectation. It is interesting, though, that he had like obviously an actress who is at the level of an Angela Bassett, Oscar nominated, and actually, I guess now Oscar recipient, because didn't they give her the honorary Oscar after they cheated her out of multiple Oscars?
The sympathy
throughout
Oscar.
Yes. But, somebody who is such an accomplished and stellar actress. We also see other folks in here that we're familiar with. Jennifer Lewis, Sofia Vergara, Lamont Rucker, obviously all of the people that are usually in the Medea movies and stuff. And we also have Rick Fox, right? And he is playing the love interest. At this point, I don't know if Rick Fox had acted in anything else before this, but at this point in time, back in 2008, people probably knew him best, obviously, as a basketball player, but also as Vanessa Williams, the ex-beauty queen singer and actress, not to be confused with the Vanessa Williams that was in like
New Jack City
and other stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
That Vanessa Williams, he was her husband for a period of time. I think they're divorced at this point. But that's how a lot of people knew him then.
He was in He Got Game, right? He was the one who was showing your boy around.
Was. You know
campus.
What? You're right. So he'd had some parts, but I would say this was a pretty substantial role because he is like the love interest in this movie.
He's the love interest. He is the good whatever. I don't know what he is. Like he's trying to be a mentor to this basketball player. Like it was trying to be Above the Rim, possibly?
Oh, yeah, there are some parallels I see between this movie and Above the Rim. By the way, we did cover Above the Rim in great detail. We have multiple videos on it on our other channel, on the Axiom Amnesia channel, and I'm going to do you a solid, and I will put a link to the playlist for Above the Rim because I'm sure you guys are going to love that breakdown. Similar dynamic, right? You've got this high school basketball phenom and, and a single mother, and him trying to make his way and play basketball. And, he's got all of these other enticements and the street is there. And, they're trying to get out of poverty and all this stuff. Except in the other one, they weren't in poverty. In Above the Rim, he wasn't in poverty. His mother, was well established at that point.
Yeah. And then also the son, he was kind of at odds with Leon's character, Shep, who was trying to get with the mom, or who was casually dating the mother, right? So they didn't really have that same sort of adverse relationship between the two basketball players in this one.
Yeah, but I definitely can see the kind of a similar story because we do have that running theme and a very realistic one where the way out and the way to success is through athletic prowess and making it to the league,
Right.
especially basketball players.
And then someone may have ulterior motives who are being selfish and self-serving and that whole dynamic.
Right.
That's one movie, right? So that could have been a movie in itself that Tyler Perry done, but he went on and he tried to tackle other things as well.
Right. You have
with
that dynamic, but then you also have the side piece with the baby dynamic and the secret child. There's so much going on.
Right. And so like Kyle in Above the Rim, he wasn't really trying to sell dope or whatever. So that sort of wasn't an issue for him, even though he was tangentially attached to the streets. Right. And then here, now we got this other thing. Somehow, just out of nowhere, I need to go and sell dope. And now we have this whole issue of whether or not he's going to go the right way or if the street's going to get him.
Yeah,
and all of
yes.
that.
And we will definitely discuss all of that in detail when we talk about kind of our review of what happens or discussion of what happens in this movie. So go to the comments and let us know right now whether this is one of your favorite Tyler Perry films and plays or not. And did you like the movie or the play better? Especially because I haven't seen the play. You guys know that this is my first time watching all of these plays as we're going through. So I haven't seen it. Please don't spoil the play. But let us know which one you like the best.
I'm Heit.
And I'm Cheri.
And you've discovered Axiom Amnesia.
We want to thank all of the supporters who helped to make this video possible. If you want your name to appear alongside these contributors, make a one-time donation via Cash App, or you can head on over to patreon.com/axiomamnesia to enjoy all of the benefits of becoming a monthly subscriber.
So how does the movie open up?
The movie opens up with Brenda, played by Angela Bassett, and she is juggling the life of a single mom in Chicago. So it's like, hurry up, let me get you to school. Let me, and she's got 3 kids and stuff. She's got a teenage son who plays basketball. She's got a younger, a daughter, 2 daughters. An older daughter who is actually played by Chloe Bailey. Yes, the Chloe Bailey that we know now, who sings and, acts. And
she played a little girl with an attitude.
Yes.
But then, we'll get more into her character.
And then we have the a younger daughter. So she's got 3 kids that she's just trying to juggle on her own. And so after, she gets off, the kids off or whatever, then we see her on the bus and she is with her friend played by Sofia Vergara on this bus, right? And she frowns and she opens up a letter. So Tyler Perry gets right to it. And the letter says that her daddy has died. And it's basically like, come to Georgia for the funeral and the reading of the will. And, so Brenda's talking back and forth with her friend and she's just like, nah, I ain't going, and think about this though, right? When you don't have a lot of money and your ends are stretched, even something that seems like a gift is like, no, I can't even do this right now. Like, I don't have time to be trying to do any of this,
Yeah.
So anyway, so she gets to work and the factory where she and her friend work is shut down. It's like a gate. You cannot get into the factory. It is closed. They have moved. I think it said they moved to their operations to China or something like that. So this touches on one of your favorite subjects, which is workplace issues, labor issues and stuff. And their job, just with no notice, they're expecting to work that day and their job has moved to China.
Yeah, and they just like, we're closed. Don't worry about nothing. Like, come on. There was no sign. Sometimes this happens like this, but not like a big move like that. If you didn't know about that, I don't know. Something is totally gone wrong.
So the workplace gets shut down. So this means she has no money. Now, mind you, she is already behind on stuff. She's barely making her bills and whatever. And so then after work, we find out that Brenda's babysitter has essentially quit for non-payment. The babysitter's name is Mildred, and she's played by Big Mama. You remember Big Mama off of
Soul Food.
Yeah. Right.
Irma P. Hall.
Yes, Irma P. Hall, who plays Big Mama in Soul Food, plays the babysitter, Mildred, in this movie. And she's just like, I can't be keeping these kids for free or whatever.
Yeah, so it's just stacked up cliche on cliche, right? So every movie about these topics, right? Struggling, trying to get to work, lost my job. And then usually, though, I guess he gets some credit for not doing a typical, I need my rent, right? Then it's, I need the money for babysitting, basically. But it always comes to that, right? But then that's quickly resolved too.
Yes. And so we find that Brenda's friend Cheryl is encouraging her to file child support on her children's fathers, you know? And she's like, no, especially Michael, this is the oldest boy, right? This is the only boy, but the oldest, the teenager. And she's like, no, he'll kill me if I did that. You know, not meaning literally kill, but you know, she is being too nice. She is over here struggling.
Who will kill her?
The father,
the baby daddy,
you know,
okay.
like, and I think it was truly a figure of speech, not
Yeah,
like she
I know,
meant
but-
that, you know, yeah.
Yeah, but
So-
I think it's important to say which one because you had mentioned the son right before
yes.
that.
So he'll kill me if I did that. And so here we have a hardworking single mother who can't make ends meet with 3 children by 3 different men, and one of the baby daddies who she could be filing child support on, she hasn't. And clearly he's not kicking in money either. And, you know, we'll find out later why he isn't kicking in. Not that it's a good excuse or anything, but it's crazy. So, you know, we start to get a little inkling of who Brenda is, though. Brenda seems like it's just like the world is coming down on her. She's nice, but she's found herself like in this tough situation, but she is a good person. She has a good heart, and she is trying her best for her children to hold it all together.
Mm-hmm.
Want us to break down the movie of your choice? You choose the film, we do the analysis, and you're credited as the executive producer. The link to grab one is in the description. Our deep dive on demand is $75. Get it today. So, as we mentioned earlier, Brenda has a son, Michael, who is a teenager playing basketball. And then she has the daughter played by Chloe Bailey, and then the baby daughter who's probably like 4 years old or so. And so there is a lot of love between the family. We see this as they're getting ready in the morning the next day. But in the middle of breakfast, the electricity gets cut off.
Bruh, everything could just go, that could go wrong, will go wrong, right?
Yes.
But so has anybody out there had their electricity turned off? I know all about that. I know about electricity
I
getting
have
turned off,
personally,
the water getting turned off. I come from the gutter.
bruh. Y'all, let me tell you something. Every time that we and I laughed about this with one with Heit's nephew's significant other. She and I laughed about this because every time they go to their hometown of Lake Charles and they get home, they start talking differently because we don't live in Lake Charles, and neither does his nephew who's grown. We don't live there, but when they get there, he gets this look about himself, this kind of posture about himself. He doesn't talk the same. And he's like, yeah, I'm from the gutter. It's just like a throwback. And then he's like, yeah, this is, and he starts talking about his hood that he grew up in and everything. When I tell you from the first time I ever went to Lake Charles, it was that way. And it continues to be that way. And I thought, okay, am I the only one experiencing this? And it was so funny over Christmas when I was laughing with, with his nephews. Girlfriend, and she was like, yeah, he does that too. And I just thought it was so funny because it really truly is like, this is your perspective, but the you I met wasn't there. It just is a different experience.
Yeah. So where I really get that from? So on my other channel, I did a video about these rappers from over there, right? And one of the things he said was, I don't know, language alert, I don't know how she met this guy, but I'm talking about a bitch from the gutter.
Oh yeah, and I remember
she was
that.
from Lake Charles. Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I'm from the gutter.
So I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. So anyway, so you asked the question, has anybody ever gotten their electricity or their utilities or whatever cut off? And you were talking about how you knew about that. Well, I've never had that happen. And I guess the closest to electricity, of course, I've gotten the pink letter plenty of times, when you go out in life and you broke as heck and you're trying to get your life together. No, I haven't. I've somehow, by the skin of my teeth, not had that happen to me. And I'm grateful for that. But the closest we got was, remember we moved into this one house where the water was off? And it
was off when we moved in?
Yeah. And the landlord went outside and jiggered like with the water main or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Remember that? And for the first couple days that we were there, like he cut it on himself. And then the couple days we were there, we had to go downtown. And it was like this whole big thing where we had to go downtown. Both of us had to get on the account to like prove that we weren't the person with the delinquent water bill and all that. It was just a whole mess. But anyway, that was about the closest I would say, that I've gotten to that. But I've heard stories.
I could tell y'all some stories. Maybe we'll do that on some other channel.
Y'all
some
go to
other
the
time.
comments and tell us your stories because, you know, the stuff that like happens, because it's like, okay, if you don't have electricity, like I remember, you know, a girlfriend of mine who I really like credit with when I first went out on my own. She was like my second friend who was showing me how to make it kind of off of the meager money that we made at these low paying jobs, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm out here trying to pay rent. How am I going to do this? I don't have enough money on paper. She was like, oh, let me show you how to juggle this. You call this person, you do that. But anyway, so she had told me this story about how when she was growing up, her electricity would be off a lot of times. And that they would, you know, run extension cords between the apartment next door and stuff like that. And how people would get into beefs when, hey, when your electricity was out a couple months ago, I let you, you know, get that extension cord. Now that mine is out, you telling me, well, you can't get your bill up high. And, you know, just a mess.
You know how they try to lock out your meter and stuff, and then you just remove the little prongs, and then you, bam, you got electricity, or you have an extra meter. So if they don't even have a meter, then you put your own meter on to the house.
Bruh, where do you get
You know,
get an
somebody in the comments,
meter?
somebody hear me out there. Somebody.
You know.
You take it off an abandoned house.
Oh, okay. See, tell me something. But yeah, so I empathize with that because the few scathes that I've had and gotten close, man, when that, you know, when you sweating bullets and you calling that day because they talking about disconnecting something, like, whoo. But yeah, so, you know, I've heard about that. So I empathized with Brenda being in this situation where, you know, you're trying to do everything and won't, you know, the sound of the electricity getting cut off right in the middle of breakfast and they can't even do what they need to do.
Like that time we was recording the video.
Oh my gosh.
We had to record a video like at least 3 times.
Mm-hmm. And then one time that like we lost power in the area and it was just like, are you serious? And then it turns out that the power wasn't just out in our little area. It was like the whole, not in ours, just in our like subdivision area, but in our whole area. Like even, I think, wasn't it out at the little strip mall nearby?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like out everywhere on this side of the highway. What a mess. But anyway, so it's an inconvenience. You know, it's a real inconvenience. In fact, I was watching something. We just saw this yesterday on a news report out of Atlanta. Some folks living in Buckhead paying $2,500 and $2,000 a month for their rent, and they haven't had water in 2 weeks. And you know, the guy was on there and he was like, yeah, you know, we haven't had running water and it's embarrassing and we have to use an outhouse and all of this and that.
That's the problem with this movie though, right? So you got these issues that you could confront and make the movie about, but somehow those are just little sprinklings onto the movie that's just not really the meat of the movie. Yes.
Of course, we have Rick Fox, aka Harry, in the movie, who is playing Michael, that's the son's, basically a recruiter who has come to town to see Michael because Michael is supposed to be good and he's in high school and, you know, whatever. Michael volunteers, though, to get a job, but Brenda says, no, you're not going to have a job and whatever. So then Brenda walks up on her son, Michael, talking to his friend Calvin, who is a neighborhood dealer. Calvin has a new car. Everything was looking real right for Calvin. Whereas, you know, Michael is just, his electricity is off at the crib, you know? So he's looking for ways to try to step up, even though he's still a child, to try to help with the responsibilities of the household. And Brenda is not having it. So it's clear that she's not going to accept help. And obviously it's uncomfortable to accept help from your teenage child. But, you know, in a situation where you can't keep the lights on, you know, that's kind of a clench the teeth moment. It might be time to have all hands on deck. And, you know, a teenager, I don't know, y'all go to the comments. How do you feel about that? You know, what do you think she was right for not letting him get a job to help her out? And so anyway, she witnesses him with his friend Calvin, who's a dealer, and she doesn't want him around Calvin. You know, and meanwhile, later that night, Harry goes to Brenda's house to recruit Michael. So y'all, anybody ever had somebody recruited in their family? Do the recruiters just roll up to your house, to your apartment and knock on your door in the evening time after school? Because it just seems like this is the way it's always played out in movies, but I wonder how realistic that is.
Dang, you don't know no top tier athletes?
I definitely don't.
I got recruited once.
For what?
For the military.
Did they come to your house and knock on your door and say, Heit, would you like to join? No, you took yourself on down
so
there.
Let me tell you, like, I'm from the gutter, right? We used to be chilling in the hood and stuff all the time. But no, we used to chill with this Army recruiter all the time. I guess he was just trying to kind of hope. But yeah, he used to just come by and chill with us. It was crazy.
So Brenda sees Harry at the door and whatever, trying to recruit Michael, and Brenda dismisses him. She's like, you trying to sell pipe dreams of going pro to all of these young boys with talent and everything. You're not getting ready to do that with my son. So she just tells him, keep it moving, buddy. And so then he goes away. So then the next day, she obviously doesn't have a job or anything. She's over there at the daycare lady Mildred's place, taking the youngest daughter, Lena, over there so she could keep her, so she could try to find a job or try to figure out what to do about, some income. And then, she gets a good helping of a lecture from Mildred, because Mildred is like, all y'all young kids out here, these young women having babies, then you ain't take care of the babies you got. No. So she's like this older woman trying to give that auntie, grandma type of, advice and love.
It's very bad advice and, very bad morals that she kind of showing the scene. Because she's basically just saying, hey, yo, I'll let you pass, you know what I'm saying? Because I see you around here and you one of those good mothers. So I'll keep your kid because you a good mother. I wouldn't do this for children who mothers ain't like you, basically. Like, wait,
right.
what?
She's like, 'cause I seen some mothers
so those
out here
children
that
don't
good.
deserve it either. It's just a weird, if you just leave that line out, then it's fine, right? But then you tainted the character when I hear this line and I'm like, okay, yeah, something wrong with her.
But we're supposed to think good of the character because, at first she is treating Brenda like everybody else. Look, I don't keep kids for free. You ain't paid. I'm not keeping your kid. But then when she brings the kid by, she's like, what's going on with you and whatever. And Brenda just explains that everything is falling apart. She offers her some food. She's like, I know you're hungry because the baby be hungry when the baby come. So this is like one of those other things where the mother is not eating and so that her children can eat, and even they don't have enough to eat all of the time,
Bruh,
and so
you better get some rice.
But Mildred is like, don't get tired of doing the right thing, keep doing what you're doing, your breakthrough is coming and everything. So we do get that kind of keep your faith, you are a good person, and that is going to be enough to carry you through and your faith, right? And so Mildred, like you said, says she's a good mother, and that's why I'm going to keep this baby for you, So hey, what problem number one of what to do with her kid while she tries to figure out what to do about the money is solved. So Brenda and her friend go to her baby daddy job, and this is the first baby daddy, who is Michael's father, and it's a construction site. And, he's all got his butt on his back when he walks over to her and stuff. And he's like, I get paid $25 an hour. I ain't got no money and blah, blah, blah. Like, he's totally no help. And then when she turns to leave or whatever, he's basically like, take your ass on and don't you come back to my job no more. And then Brenda's friend turns and she just basically knocks him out, and then they run away or whatever. And Cheryl, that's the friend, urges Brenda, hey, girl, look, you need to go to Georgia and find out what your daddy done gave you or something so that you can get out of this situation. You just never know. And so.
But how you get $25 an hour? I make so much money that you shouldn't come up here and bother me about the money that I ain't going to give to support my kid.
Well, we going to find out why, because it is a dynamic that exists in many places. But in short, if we're going to talk about part of it, is because where's he laying his head? Where does he live? He is married. He has presumably a family with other children there, and he's taking care of them with his $25 an hour. He's taking care of his wife. He ain't got time for this child that he has made. And this happens all the time. So, and it is undoubtedly true that the children who live with the father are going to be taken care of better than the ones who don't have the benefit of being in the same household with him. And I also think in general, if you are able to be in the same household, that for whatever reason, that is just generally going to be a better situation for the children, provided that there's no, other toxic things going on. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's like, I get paid $25 an hour or whatever, which is good money, but so the next thing we know, we see that Brenda and the kids decide, hey, we're going to Georgia. Of course, they have to take the Greyhound, and they arrive in Georgia. And then that is when we are reminded of the Medea universe, and it's Mr. Brown and Cora, his daughter, and they pick him up from the bus station. So then this is where we start to get the real comedy that we see in a Medea movie. And so Mr. Brown thinks that Brenda is a friend of the family, and Mr. Brown asks how Brenda knows his daddy, because his daddy is her daddy also, but he doesn't know this. So they're actually siblings. And of course, then we're introduced to a bunch of cast of characters or whatever, all of, let's call them Daddy Brown's children that have convened for his funeral and reading of his will, that are brought together from even as far as Chicago, right? So next thing we know, we look up and we see Harry. Harry done rolled up in town. Harry is like, oh, this is my hometown. So Harry, you was just in Chicago, a blink ago, and now you're back in the town, where you, I guess, are from,
maybe,
and grew up. And he sees Michael and he goes to talk to Michael outside or whatever, and then we see the daughters and stuff that are there. They're being fed because they're all welcomed into the Brown family. They're being fed, and the Chloe Bailey's character, she is eating so fast. She is like stuffing her face and everything. And they looking at her like, and it's clear that she's been hungry. And then after she stuffs her face, she's like, I'm sorry. I was, I usually save some for it was so good, Mama. I'm sorry I didn't save any for my brother and sister.
Why is she so traumatized like this? But also, if she is eating like that, I'm just like, yes, possibly because of the trip, right? So when you throw something like that in the movie, it's not just because you never eat. Everybody who come off of these trips like this.
Because if you ever took the Greyhound
and then I think it was the next day too, right?
I could tell you some stories about taking a bus a long way, man. That is great. I go back and forth because a couple times, not that long ago, I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago, back when Megabus was a thing, we took the Megabus from Dallas to Memphis, and that's about 8 hours on the Megabus. And it's like, oh, okay, you take it overnight, boom, you wake up, you're there, you're all refreshed.
Yeah.
But it was not a comfortable ride necessarily.
And you got to have the best seats too.
We paid extra to sit in front.
Yeah.
In the big seats on the top level.
It's not comfortable.
It still is not comfortable.
It's like a plane, but those are faster trips.
Yeah, so it was, and then even y'all on one trip, there was a girl and a guy who met on the bus and were sitting next to each other.
Somebody got fingered, y'all. The whole trip. I'm like, dang,
like,
you ain't squirt yet?
Shut up. How you gonna just put this cover over you and you think grown people don't know what's going on? Just disgusting. But anyway, when you don't have a whole lot of money, you don't have a whole lot of options. And so her and the kids hit the Greyhound. And you're right. Maybe they're hungry because, it only stops so often where you can actually get off. And then if you ain't got no money, what you gonna eat, you know?
And even if you do, you're not getting what you usually get, right? Everybody who get off of trips are hungry, I guess.
Yeah,
unless you at
or
the lounges.
A real meal, right? Because the place, what you're getting there is like, 7-Eleven food practically.
Yeah, it's raccoon food.
Mm-hmm. So, but again, we know that the other shoe is going to drop because people are like, nobody really knows who Brenda's real identity. They do not know that she is their daddy child. So, Brown's sister Vera, played by Jennifer Lewis, is at the table. And you know how Jennifer Lewis just has this knack because to me, she's like the same character in every movie, quite frankly. This is the same personality that we saw her play, Angela Bassett playing Tina Turner's mother in What's Love Got to Do with It. Same type of character.
The more movies I watch, the more I just notice that these are the actors, for the most part, their personality.
A lot of
and that's why you get cast, because you're playing yourself. So it's not really that much acting, even though it's kind of hard to show emotions that you don't necessarily have, and you do have to dig for those, right?
Yeah.
But was she this in Poetic Justice?
Poetic Justice?
She was a lucky mama.
Oh, yeah. Kind of, because she was like, you ain't leaving that baby here with me. You know how she talks. Better take care of your own baby,
Oh, so maybe her and Bernie Mac was doing the same voice.
Oh, she was the female Bernie Mac. See, connections.
Or Bernie Mac was the female Jennifer Lewis, or the male Jennifer Lewis.
I don't know. Y'all go to the comments. Let us know what you think. But so then it comes there, they have a dinner table scene, and the dinner table scenes in Tyler Perry films are notorious. We remember the one from Why Did I Get Married? And in case you've been under a rock, y'all know we got like a ton of videos on Why Did I Get Married. We'll leave that link in the description so that you can watch that playlist. But
that was a year before. 2007 was.
So yeah, so then it gets busted out at the table that Brenda is actually their sister, and the only one who actually knew it was LB, who's the oldest brother, who it turns out wrote the letter to invite her there.
Why he ain't say nothing?
Because he wanted to just say it all at the same time. People would have been all up in arms and don't invite her, no outside children.
Yeah, but once the time you done got the person there and all this, come on.
So
I'm
yes.
going to invite her anyway, so.
Everybody is like flipped out because they don't believe, they're like, he had another child, And so LB tells them that Pop Brown was a pimp in Chicago and Brenda's mother was his bottom hoe.
That's the story of sinners. They got that from Tyler Perry.
What you mean?
That was they were, how everybody was like, oh, they was pimps.
Oh,
in the movie Sinners.
Maybe they're seeing it through the Tyler Perry lens. So they find out that the father was a pimp before he became a deacon, and also that their own mother was one of his hoes too. And so this is all comedic and everything, and it's all over the top in Tyler Perry Madea type fashion or whatever. And so anyway, meanwhile, Harry is trying to get with Brenda. Harry is like, ooh, I see Brenda. I'm going to try to talk to Brenda and everything like that. Next thing you know, we have this comedic funeral scene where Brown gives this ridiculous speech. It's just the typical stuff you expect. And that's not really the meat of the story. It just kind of keeps you laughing when you realize this crazy story line that's going on at the same time. And but there is this kind of idea, though, when you think about Pop Brown, the idea that like a sinner can turn saint, right? And that their mother, who I'm sure she was held in high esteem, is because the father was the deacon, she's the deaconess. Well, are you a deaconess if your husband is the deacon? I don't know.
Or you
Y'all
can
tell
fake
me.
and hide your children that you have.
Listen. We got so many people who, let me just shut up in here before I get to saying some things. But they do decide that they're going to read the will the next day after this funeral. And they at the reading of the will, they find out that the father left LB all of his money, which amounted to a whole $500 and something. Vera, that's the Jennifer Lewis character, was left his love, and whatever. So basically nothing. And then he left Brown his house, but then everybody laughed and was like, oh, that house is messed up, Brown. But Brenda is given his old rental property. And then, so of course, Harry drives over there to see what the rental property. So why did
he do that though?
Because you know what I think? I think that at the end of his life, he realized he had that child out there and he hadn't done nothing. And when people start looking.
So he could have done like the boy's daddy up in here.
Well, but
Michael's daddy.
But the problem is he probably was like that, right? He was out there. He knew that child existed and that child was back in Chicago, and he didn't give a doggone. He said, I'm going to be this deacon over here and I'm going to pretend this and I'm going to ignore this child. That is my child that's out here in the world. So to try to make it a little bit right at the end, after he's gone, so he doesn't have to face the reality of who he really was in life.
Yeah.
Or at least a part of who he was in life. Then he's like, hey, I'm going to try to, get right with things, because
How did they find it? Because it was 2008 too, though. It's kind of not like how it is now. It's much easier to find people like this.
Let me tell you something. The daddy knew the whole time who
I know,
she
but
was
it's
and where
still
she was.
hard to find somebody.
Would it be?
Yes, when people move and out, like back in the day, especially if she's not that stable like we see here, she ain't got much money.
Yeah,
she's probably moving a
might
lot
be right.
and stuff. Right. So, and I know there's a lot of people like this, right? People move away and then you don't know where the person is and you just have a name. Well, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get it. But somehow he figured it out and figured out where she was. But, I was saying, I think that the father's issue is as he's getting toward the end of his life, knowing he don't have much time, he's a deacon. He want to be right with the Lord. And, you got this thing that needs to get resolved. So he's trying to reconcile that. And instead of reconciling it in life, he reconciles it in death so that he doesn't have to actually face it, right? I'm going to give her a little something, nowhere near what she should have gotten from me as a parent this entire time. But I did what I could do. And so he gives her the rental property that, looks a mess. And she's just like, yeah, nah, what I'm gonna do with this? And like you pointed out, she didn't have any money. how is she gonna, do anything?
Remodel the place. Mm-hmm.
So then Cora also, because they see that, Brenda is needy. So Cora has taken up, a little bit of offer, then got with the ladies and said, we know you need this, and let me just give you this love gift. And she hands her a folder because
not before her
an envelope to Brenda to give her some cash because Brenda is heading back to Chicago. Brenda ain't trying to stay.
And Brenda's like, no, I don't want anything.
Again, people seeing you need and trying to help, and you're like, no. So yeah, Brenda, that is a recurring thing for Brenda. Tell me, y'all, is this Brenda's pride or is this something different? A lot of you miss our videos because you're not getting your YouTube notifications, but we have fixed this. Subscribe to our mailing list for personalized notifications of all of our videos as they are released across all of our channels. You'll get an email. The link for it is in the description. Be sure you're subscribed. So Brenda goes back to Chicago, and guess who shows up at her door but Michael Sr., Michael's daddy, her baby daddy at the door. This is the one who told her not to come around no more. And then he's trying to make moves like, you need that money. He over here trying to act like Nate, I'm in a bind, Nate. If you know,
so why
you know
is
what
he
movie.
At the door?
He's at the door. Basically, he'll give her a little money if she gives him a little, cookie.
Why?
Because he wants some sex.
Okay.
Then when she turns him down or whatever, he's like, you need this money. Where's the bed? He's just like, Tyler Perry writes some of the most unrealistic and crazy and outlandish.
Right, and a scene that doesn't need to be in the movie. Right? This doesn't need to be there. Maybe he was trying to come back because, as we all knew, the son was about to go to the pros and stuff, right?
Well, he did, but I don't know if he even knew that much about him at that time.
I'm sure if somebody in Chicago is like the number one recruit in the country who is possibly going to the pros, then you would know that.
Yeah.
Especially the men, right? But see, also too, that's unrealistic because it depends. At the time, I don't think you could just go directly from high school because they had that agreement right after all them cats, after LeBron James and all of them made it from high school. I think they made it like you had to be 19 or something or some extra year, something stupid, right?
Yeah, you couldn't just go directly.
Because they were like, these urban kids don't know how to handle money. Basically, is what they said. But yeah, so I don't know how realistic that, but I'm pretty sure he would know that. But this is the no subtlety again, right? The villain has to just be the most just terrible crazy at everything and just do everything wrong along the way. Because first it was don't come by. Right? Don't give me money. Don't come by me. I'm working and stuff. And then he shows up and now here's some money because I want to smash.
And then I'm not giving you money if I can't smash.
Right.
And then he says, I don't care. Both of y'all starve. What did you do with the $200 I gave you for the abortion? Like as if he wasn't already trash enough of a character.
I don't know. He might have a point.
What?
If it's agreed upon, you got to tell me something happened. I fell down.
I don't care if it was agreed upon. The child exists now.
And then the time lapsed, and
I don't care if the child exists now. You up in there talking loud and crazy, and then of course the son overhears this, and the son Michael comes out, and he's like, "Why are you begging?" and whatever like that, and he's like, "I'm gonna make things happen on my own."
So who was
begging? And then
begging?
he leaves after the confrontation.
He's talking to his mama, saying, "Why are you begging?"
Yeah, why are you begging this man who don't want us, don't care about us? Why are you begging him for anything? Right? Because, he views her as begging because she's trying to get the needs of the family met. And he probably didn't hear the whole
and
situation.
Because of what's right. You know what I'm saying? Like I guess you could just chalk it up to the character being young and you don't know how the world works, right?
Yeah.
Because getting what's rightfully yours and demanding that from others is not begging in my sense. And begging isn't necessarily negative, even though
it's definitely not begging, and she wouldn't have to ask him nothing if she put his trifling behind on child support. Now, I do understand that not everybody necessarily needs to be quote unquote put on child support, but like in this situation, she needs the money, and it needed to be somebody. A man like him is going to have to be forced into actually meeting his financial obligations, and so let that be whatever it is.
Right. Respect your mama, boy.
you know. But anyway, so he flies off the handle and he's like, I'm gonna make things happen on my own. And of course, we know it's probably gonna involve Calvin, right? The no local drug dealer. And he leaves after this confrontation. But before, you know, Brenda can run after her son and whatever, Harry shows up right after. And I'm like, dang, Harry, you just really stalking her. Harry done flew back from Georgia. He done flew in all quick and whatever. And he's like, well, what's going on, baby? You know, but no, he's just like, hey, what's wrong? Brenda tells Harry what's happening. Of course, now Harry is starting to turn into the knight in shining armor because he's like, you know, I'm gonna, you know, let me intervene. So then Michael goes to Calvin like we knew he would to get money. And then Harry rolls up on Michael and Calvin at that time. They have a confrontation. Harry intervenes and he says, you know, look, I lost my everything that I had. I lost while I was gambling in the league. I lost my wife and my kids. And, you know, he's telling Michael, like, this is the wrong road. You need to just show up to this practice tomorrow. I'm going to be here for a couple of days. Just show up and then I'll know you interested and whatever. And so after he tells him that, Michael goes back to talking to Calvin and, you know, he comes home late. Brenda confronts him and then she tries to kick him out, right? She's like, well, you get out of my house because, you know, I would not have any drugs in my house, you know.
Because he gave him some shoes.
You know, and right? Basically he's showing up with the spoils of war. And
the shoes from above the rim. Right? Isn't that what happened?
You know, and so she tries to kick him out, but he's like, no, I'm not leaving. I'm not going to leave you like them other dudes did. And, you know, like, even though this is some very over the top and wild dialogue between a mother and her teenage son, like, there's the part where it's messed up, though, that she has actually been abandoned by 3 men whose children she had. And not only did they abandon her, they abandoned the children as well.
Yeah, but sometimes women leave. We can't just assume.
I mean, she may have left. But okay, but at a minimum, he abandoned his children.
Their children, yeah.
You know?
Right? But, you know, you could have flipped that and been like we see is common now. And I think maybe they call them baby boys or mama's boys now. But don't leave me like the other dudes did. Right, where they don't want the son to leave them out.
Yeah,
because
that
that's their only
right
emotional bond. They
and
really
that's also a problem. Although luckily she didn't have this type of bond with her son, because that is so like debilitating and unfortunate for the child that you have made into your spouse. You know, like your partner, everything except the sex.
But if we're over here hitting on every issue, then you might as well throw that one in too.
Well, you know, he just left that out just for good measure. But, you know, they hug and they make up, mother and son do. And Michael does go ahead and show up to practice with Harry and everything. So Michael goes back to tell Calvin, hey, look, man, I can't do it. I can't be in these streets and whatever. He gives him all the money and whatever back. And then some guys roll up. There's a confrontation. And then Michael is trying to run away. He gets shot in an alley in his back. Okay.
Bruh.
So meanwhile, Harry is out to dinner with Brenda at the time. And
Ebony, right? That's what Diamond was at the thing,
that's just
happened.
like Diamond and Ebony in the Players Club.
But is that realistic though?
That they're out together?
No, that you know you got this star player and then your friend is like, come on and hustle instead of playing basketball, nigga.
It's probably okay. So I don't know how realistic it is, because I've been told on, you know, from folks who would know that people who have promise are often shielded from such things. They're like, hey,
somebody
don't come around here.
Get your ass out of these streets, bro. Go play basketball somewhere.
We know you're headed for good things. So they're somewhat shielded in that way. But, you know, and I've talked about him before, but Benji Wilson, when I was a kid, Benji Wilson, I was young and he was shot and killed in Chicago. And I remember for whatever reason how it just struck me, you know, and they didn't 30 for 30 do a thing on Benji Wilson? But anyway, if you don't know, he was a young basketball player who was shot and killed in Chicago. And this was in the 80s. And it always just kind of stuck with me. And I don't think he was involved necessarily with street cats, but certainly he was adjacent enough that somebody who would be mad could kill him.
Man, that's crazy.
But yeah, it's just wild or whatever.
Yeah. But so I think that also too, like, let's say the cats in the street, they like, yeah, we gonna let him do whatever. Ain't gonna try to force him to ruin his life because he has potential to get out, right? They don't understand, and the person who's playing basketball or whatever, they can't really accept assess the risk or the dangers of just hanging out in the streets too, right? So he just kind of went there. He's like, yeah, I got shoes for you because I'm betting on your game, right? Not necessarily pulling them into the streets, right? But then he's going back to be like, I don't need this, man, which is kind of weird. But then it's still no issue in you just hanging around or meeting up with him here in his place of business, which is probably not a safe place.
Yeah. You know, and it just was bad timing or whatever.
And bad judgment.
So then Brenda's friend, you know, the Sofia Vergara character, she comes running in and she tells her Michael's been shot. They all run to the hospital. At the hospital, they run into who? Michael Sr. Because, you know, like any good parent, she's calling the other parent to say, hey, you know, she blowing him up. Like, you know, and then they have a confrontation at the hospital and he like, stop calling my house. It's pissing off my wife. And he was like, what? I can't pay for no funeral. I hope you don't think I'm gonna pay for a funeral. And you know, it's just he's just a
why did he even show up? Come on, Tyler
terrible
Perry,
human
just
being.
stop.
But luckily, Michael is okay. They all leave the hospital, and then of course we see like a montage where Harry and Brenda continue to date in Chicago. Dude said, "Look, I'm gonna set a stake down here in town." So that we could be, you know, so I could really hook this woman and we could be a family. But anyway, so they decide, though, ultimately to move to Georgia. And Harry drives them there.
So what year was this? Like, I didn't see any winter, did you?
In Chicago?
Yeah.
No.
I don't think I saw winter.
No.
When was they playing basketball?
Maybe it was just as soon as the season opened. It was, you know, it was in September.
And then he went to the draft and I don't know. Somebody could probably make up a timeline for me that makes sense.
So Harry, so they move and Harry drives them or whatever. They got that little U-Haul, like the little, what do you call that? Like the little thing you pull. It's not a truck. It's like the thing.
The trailer?
The trailer, right.
Yeah.
You put that behind your car. So they have that or whatever. They get there. The church done a fundraiser or whatever. But Harry put in a whole bunch of money and they get back. And when I tell you that house, that was the rent house that looked like a mess, is looking like a very nice house for that family, and everybody's all happy.
Harry
and
was
whatever.
a super simp.
Shut up. That's what they would say today, though.
Yeah.
And
he said, "I'll pay for it. I'll pay for it."
So
see, the other dude tried to pay for it. He ain't have enough, but Harry would pay for it. So we got two men trying to do the same thing.
No,
one is trying to buy the cow. One is trying to lease it.
Shut up. He wasn't even trying to lease the cow. He was just trying to have a single transaction for that day.
That's a lease.
That ain't even a lease. A lease is over a period of time, longer than just one payment. You know? So Vera, that is also, you know, that's one of the sisters, the Jennifer Lewis character, though. She is just a hater. And so she sees how happy that Brenda is and the kids, and then she's all in the house. And, you know, of course, you always got to have that person who can't just see somebody happy and be happy. And so Vera gets to bumping her gums and talking about Harry is only here for an investment. Harry, you know, so he could get that money. And she's like, look at how he's spending time with it. Now, that was the first thing she said before she said he was there for an investment. And I thought she was about to, because this is Tyler Perry, I thought she was about to say he was interested in him like that.
Right. So no judgment. Does any of those women have men? In this?
Well, not Vera. I mean, so the only sisters were, so you had Vera, who was a sister, and then you had Cora. Cora is a widow, and Vera is either a widow. Somebody in the comments, is Vera a widow or she just was single?
And you had Margaret.
Margaret is married to LB, so she's married.
Okay. And the grandmother. So it's one single one. Maybe she did want him.
I mean, but she definitely wanted him at some point because she was talking about how fine he was and how many women back in the day had gotten their hearts broken by his fine self because, you know, he's from the same town.
Because maybe, I don't know, Tyler Perry could have threw that in there too, that she wanted.
She probably, you know, so she was hating though. And so she's like, he only wants that so he could get his hands on the money or whatever. This is an investment. He don't like her or whatever. And of course, Brenda overhears all of this.
That's a hell of an investment. I think I should pay you back if you do something like that though. I owe you
like
something.
The house, like you built up a whole house, like what? So if you are watching this, Tyler Perry already has you hooked. Love him, hate him, or hate watch him. We have done the deep dives already. Full playlists breaking down his stories, characters, and drama everyone argues about. Check the description for the ultimate Why Did I Get Married playlist and the ultimate Tyler Perry playlist so you can binge all of these videos. And we need y'all to go ahead and binge these videos for sure. The link for it is in the description. You know, if you're getting ready to go to sleep at night, go ahead and just put that playlist on and let it play. So Next thing you know, because I was like, okay, but this is not a Medea movie. It's Meet the Browns, but will Medea show up? And of course, she doesn't disappoint. Medea makes a cameo with the police chase that's on TV. And so we get to see that craziness or whatever. And then we find out that Harry is Michael's manager now, right? Because he's been talking to Michael and whatnot. And then Michael's all excited. He's like, Harry's my manager. And he comes to talk to his mama, Brenda. Brenda overhears, and she's suspicious immediately because of what, the sister Vera has said. And so she confronts Harry about, what's in this for you, and then she's like, nah, you're not going to be the manager or whatever. And then Harry leaves and he's hurt. Like, imagine how you would feel. He clearly has feelings for her. He has fixed up this house, put all his money, and he's trying to make a way with her to have a life with her. And she's just dissed him. And then she thinks the worst of him. And that just really hurt his feelings. And so he leaves. Next thing you know, this white guy shows up and he's like, hey, I'm an agent or whatever. He's at the door promising to help Michael with college and everything like that. And he can go to the league and da-da-da. And it is exposed at this point because he knows Harry. He's like, hey, the contract he had with Michael, it wasn't for money. It was just for guidance. So then, of course, Brenda feels real stupid because she's accused this man of something that he didn't do.
Why do you need a contract for guidance?
Well, maybe to say he could act on his behalf in some way, but so that nobody would rip him off, right? Yeah. And that's what the new agent says.
And then I expect some payback later on somehow, right?
I mean, maybe, but certainly anybody who was totally a predator would have been putting it in writing. Hey, I own your name and your likeness, and so. The next thing we know, he does sign, and what is he going to the league, right? Out of high school or whatever. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he's signing. And guess who got the stone cold nerve, the gumption to show up at the signing? At the draft, yeah. At this draft. Nobody but Michael Sr., deadbeat baby daddy. And he
was just trying to support his son.
No, he wasn't. He was coming to get that money. And then, but, they're like, oh, what does your father think or whatever? You know how it is when the media starts asking questions after it. And then Michael busts his daddy out and he's like, oh, I only seen this man twice. So you might want to ask him what I should do for my father.
How did he only see him twice? One of the times was
when he was talking about that $200 for the exactly. So he'd only seen him once after that. Like, so he really was just totally absent. And after that happens, then, the daddy gets up on the mic and he's like, oh, it'll be up to my son. And he's trying to do a song and dance, but he's been busted out. And it's clear that Michael don't have any plans to give his daddy any money. And I don't think he owed him jack at that point either. The moral of the
story is, if you have a son, just go see him from time to time because one day he might make it to the pros.
Somebody would probably interpret it in that just ridiculous way as well.
But I'm sure it happens like that, right? You don't have to be totally present, but still have a relationship with the person. And I'm sure they show up at the drafts all the time, and we just don't know. It just looked like they've been there the entire time. But I do think that fathers take a liking to their sons who show some promise in high school, right? So if you're getting attention in high school, they're going to show up and go to the games and all this and be like, great job, son, even though they may not completely be contributing monetarily or financially.
But, Michael he got to take care of his mama. And Michael got a brand new car and everything. I was like, who car is this that Michael is driving? He's driving his mama around or whatever. And then, he's like, look, I'm going to take you up in here and you need to go up in there and you need to make this right with Harry and whatnot, because that's what you would have told me to do.
Yeah. It reminded me of The Cookout. You remember that movie?
Yeah,
I like that movie. It was funny. But I think Eve and a lot of people is in there. But where they basically showed like, okay, you're probably going to the league. So now let's start getting into debt based on whatever future earnings you may have, right? So that's why this guy, I guess he's already has his car and everything because he's already gotten himself in debt. And I hope you don't get hurt, bro. I hope you don't get hurt before the season starts.
So she goes inside and Harry is in there, trying to do some layups and practice. I don't know what he's doing in this gym, but he's in there. And, she goes inside and she's trying to fix stuff with him. And he basically is like, she starts out basically like, I'm this and that, just basically saying how she was wrong. And he was like, yeah. And, you don't even know when somebody loves you. And of course, in these movies, this is the like heart heartthrob moment where you're just like, oh, and then she says she loves him and everything like that. And, and that she was scared. And he was like, why would I scare you? And then she said, you're everything I always wanted in a man. And, of course, they kiss, and then the kiss is one of those kisses that morphs into the next scene where they're getting married and everything like that.
Great job skipping
and
all that
it was
stuff
just like,
for me,
oh
Tyler
my
Perry.
gosh, a fairy tale. He saved her. He is the knight in shining armor. At the wedding, you see her and her 3 children and Harry. But where's Harry's kids? Harry's kids can't come to the wedding?
No.
Is Harry able to be a father anymore?
Harry ain't contributing to his kids, just like Michael Sr.'s not.
Bruh. Okay, so I believe Harry is contributing. I want to believe Harry contributes to his children, but financially, right? And maybe the mother is so mad because, we didn't talk about this. So we kind of did a little bit, but Harry's whole fall from grace was that he was in the league and he was gambling and he got thrown out of the league for gambling, which was a problem. And, and then he lost his family over, his wife left him and whatever. He's the talk of the town, gossips and everything. So he experienced that. But I'm saying, like, bro, you have children out here and whatever it would require for you to be able to talk and be dealing with your kids should happen. And so you're at the wedding and your kids are not there. I don't see them in the picture. And so, like, this is the question that I have. And we never see his kids or even hear him talk about his kids other than to say he lost them. Were they dead? Like, did I miss a line in here? Because that could happen. Sometimes your mind wanders while you're watching these movies.
I was going to bring up one of these old 90s theories.
Go
Maybe
ahead.
his gambling led to the death of his family somehow.
Shut up, because that was one of those conspiracy theories from the 90s when a famous basketball player's father was found murdered
Yeah.
on the side of the road. And he also had been wrapped up in gambling. Allegedly. A real allegedly.
But so in the end, I'm wondering, what the hell was this movie about?
This movie was about a movie for Tyler Perry Studios.
Just
and Lionsgate.
Some things. Like, it's kind of like if I were to just say, hey, y'all, I'm going to tell you a story. And then I tell you a story, right? So I didn't structure it to where there would be like, any real narrative or any moral or anything I want you to get out. I'm just telling you the events of the things that happened.
Well, so back to the beginning when I asked you if you liked the movie. You said you did not. I like the movie as much as I like any basic Tyler Perry movie. Y'all already know there are 2 Tyler Perry movies that I really love. The Family That Prays and, of course, the first Why Did I Get Married? Those 2 are my Tyler Perry films that I really like a lot. And other than that, the rest of them, I watch them. All right, okay. I don't even know that I don't want to say I don't care enough to not like it, but it's
what
just,
I'm going to say is it's not necessarily Tyler Perry, but y'all could drop that deep dive on demand for 4 Colored Girls.
Ooh, yeah.
And maybe we could do multiple characters that we could just go through each character too.
Yeah, because like that is just, and not only that, but there are some older ones too, and we can't probably do it because it was a miniseries as a deep dive on demand. But we'll set up something where we could talk about a particular character. But the Women of Brewster Place, like that was an amazing kind of would remind you of For Colored Girls on some level too. But yeah, but still, this was okay. I liked the themes that were brought up. But, you only got a couple hours for a movie, and to try to address and resolve all of them. And then you got a, fairy tale love story on top of it.
Yeah.
Okay,
so is it about the love story? Is it about taking care of your kids? Is it about going, navigating the whatever of basketball and its draw to the streets? Or is it about, it's called Meet the Browns. Is it about meeting the family and becoming part of that family? Right? I don't think it delivered on any of those.
What I liked was that they did embrace her. They did embrace her once they understood that she was their father's child. And, because I think it's too much of the nonsense.
They did get together, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. And so I wonder what happened to her friend, the Sofia Vergara character.
Hey,
she's still
right?
back in Chicago, girl. You'd be like, look, come on to town, and
I got a room for you.
Something, because she was over there.
I know. So, is that like your family? Like, so this is clearly the mother's best friend. So let's say I came across some millions. My mama's best friend will be handled just like any other
close friend,
any other family member, right? So. You know what I'm saying?
You could come to. It's a room for you in Georgia too. So,
But if I go in line with a lot of our commenters and their sentiments, I'd be like, screw them. She wasn't in the gym shooting jump shots, practicing jump shots.
yeah, a lot of people would say that. You know, and I do, because we just heard recently, and y'all go ahead and chime in the comments, because there's been this whole discussion about Glorilla and her sister.
Right.
You know, we see this from time to time with famous people where their siblings and the family members will come into the public and bring their private beef into the public about the fact that they're not supporting them, especially financially, the way that they feel like they should. And, you know, is Glorilla obligated to take care of her family?
Y'all already know how I feel about this.
Yeah, I mean, we already know. We already know in the back and forth we had over Terry and stuff like that. With the amount of money that you have, you know, as a multi-million-dollar artist, you know, there's no way that your family, because she says she got 9 siblings and 2 parents or whatever, you know, so there's no way, if y'all, it was 10 of y'all, that they should be living in rats and roaches and squalor and stuff like that still today. Like, there's a way
I don't know
you
if
can
I watched
set
enough
things up.
to know that they said they're still living that way.
Okay.
But I think she did bring up that they were living like that. But she did say, basically, her mama ain't retired. And Glorilla said that she retired her mama and all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? So
and her mom's still working, what is it, for FedEx or something like that? Or, you know,
and
like
then the sister who lived with them was calling, asking them for money.
Yeah, can
When
pay
you
my
living
cell
with
phone
the-
bill. Can I get
yeah,
$40? No, get $40
If this
from
stuff
your
is
rich
true,
sister.
then yeah.
You know, but it'd be interesting to hear what some of y'all have to say
Each
about that.
according to his ability.
Yes, but all right. So some themes that we're putting here. What do y'all feel about the child support? Because, you know, a lot of this, if she had just been getting child support from at least one of the 3 baby daddies, that would have made things better for her. And maybe she wouldn't have even been, well, we wouldn't have had a story, right? Because if she wasn't getting the lights cut off and her back wasn't against the wall, she was probably not going to Georgia.
You know, yeah.
But I would,
that still don't stop you from getting the asset that's supposed to go to you, but maybe you don't get the house. I don't know.
Well,
this
you
guy
still
is
get
still
the
going
house,
to the
but she probably just
NBA,
would have
though.
sold it. You know, her son still would have gone to the NBA. It would have been fine, but she would have just been in a better predicament. You know,
at the time. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, what did this accomplish in the film? Right? Is that you needed to get out of that to be able to heal and be whole, right? Because I guess if it's her arc, then nobody can in that situation can become who they really are.
right?
But then just wait a couple months and then you're out of it. So like you threw in this other element that doesn't help to support that.
That's true. So, and then there's one final thing I do want to talk about, and it's the idea that the kids only belong to the mother. And I feel like in a way that was kind of presented here, like, you know, yes, these men left her with the children, but in the end, she also wanted to have agency over the children more than any man who was also their father.
That's just the way it is, right?
I think that is the way that it is a lot of times.
And so like back to the abortion talk, right? About the $200, right? That's just basically how you could pay whatever you want, but ultimately this woman decides and it's on her to decide.
Right. And, you know,
I should have chose better when you was busting.
So, oh my gosh, I was having this conversation with a family member and I was telling her, because she, you know, it's a family member older than I am, in the older generation than me. And I was saying, you know, I think you have to talk to some of the younger women now to really understand, because I think that there's a pitfall that can happen, or there can be assumptions that we make about younger women that may or may not be true. And one of them is that I think a lot of the younger women now don't necessarily look at having a family as part of the man being part of that family unit, right? It's me and my children is the family.
That whole normalize, right?
Right. And that's what we see. So if it's me and the children of the family children belong to me, not to this father at all.
Or when you say I want a family, you're talking about you and kids.
Right. And I also think that this is in the context of, you know, a lot of especially younger women being made to feel bad if they decide that hey, like the dream of marriage. You know, when I was growing up, to be married, and nobody was criticizing the idea that you would dream of marriage as a younger girl. Hey, one day I'll be married, you know, because it was just like, this is how it's going to go, right? Whereas today, I think that you might be criticized if that is what you want, you know, oh, you know, and I see it all the time in social media where it's like, oh, you know, do you want to get cheated on and da da da? I'd rather just do my own thing, you know. And so there's those ideas, which, hey, I think women should be able to do whatever they want to do.
Right.
If you want to be married, be married. If you don't, you know.
Because things change. It's sort of like a pimp impregnating his hoes is a terrible pimp, right? At one point in time. Until possibly you get to hustle and flow. And, you know, they show, oh, this pimp is in love with his hoe.
It still is a terrible thing. It's still a terrible thing.
That's crazy.
Thank goodness it's a movie. You know, but yeah, but what I'm saying is, so we have the backdrop of, I do see a changing, like a turning of the tides a little bit, and I'm hopeful for that, because I do think that it takes like all of us together, not just segregating ourselves from, oh, this is me and my kids, and the men are over here, and I'll just, you know, I'm with them a little bit, but not that much. And
even
it's
the rest
transactional.
The rest of the family, right? It's that this rugged individualism of capitalism has led us to a point where just this creating these silos is some admirable thing. When we all know that you need community and everything. And like, it's just the breakdown of everything to the individual, to where the power still relies on the ones who come up with these coalitions that depress and oppress the rest of us, right? So even when you break it down to, okay, maybe your unit is smaller than just a traditional family, let's say the size of the family in Meet the Browns, now you just have your little unit, your close-knit family of the mother and her 3 kids, then, and maybe a friend on the side, then think about how much struggle that is, right? When she went down to Georgia, right, the family was able to put together to give her some money, you know what I'm saying? But when you're up there, it's just you, your kids, and this other person. What is there, right? So it's a clear sign of how much, even something as simple as that. But then the rugged individualism of capitalism tells you that even still, that the family should not be putting together to give to this other person this money, even if they need it, because there's something inherently wrong with them, or you can judge them from their past choices of having kids with 3 different men. And
we saw that really with Brenda's response to Mildred, the babysitter. She said, well, they here now talking about the kids. Like, look, we can't talk about woulda, coulda, shoulda when you sitting up here with 3 kids that's hungry, and we got to figure out what to do today. And I 100% agree with that. I feel like the answers should be answers that are, hey, what do we do moving forward so that we can be in the best position? And B, like, let's not hold on to the mistakes of the past, except when it comes to, and I ain't even gonna say mistakes, because I don't think that children are a mistake. I just think that decisions make things harder or easier, and let's not hold on to things that made your the decisions you made that made your life harder. You know, when I look at situations where people are ratcheting up their life difficulty level to a 10 at the age of 19 or 18 or even younger, when it ain't got to be like that.
Yeah.
And that's what the old folks, and myself included or whatever, are here for, to try to help, you know, younger ones to hopefully have some idea about what that looks like. And also to not act like you're holier than thou, and not act like you were never that age and never made any mistakes in your life. Okay. And I'm talking to the people, the Gen Xers like me, and, you know, older millennials, and those who are in, you know, in the cool auntie roles, and the grandmothers and the mother roles or whatever. Like, come on now. Yeah. Look, we all been there. Let's quit trying to act like we've been saints the whole time.
Right. And you talked about the redemption when it came to, like, you know, Brenda's father, right? Brenda's father was whatever. He was a pimp, whatever.
A whole deacon.
Yeah, now he's a deacon, and he did well, and then he tried to make right with his kids in the end.
He had a whole rental property.
Exactly. So then we see that. So why do we have to always hold and then we're just choosing who does what, right? Because there's only certain people who can't have any redemption.
Right.
And a lot of times it's the people who's closest to us who we don't allow to be redeemed, but anyone else can do and say whatever. People who we don't even know and put on a pedestal as celebrities, who get pass after pass after pass, who have, if, you know, you were in the same situation as Brorilla, then you probably would really be feeling kind of bad. Or if you had other family members who was in that position, you would be mad at your other relative who was like, wait, you ain't do nothing for your sister who's sleeping on a flat a flat inflatable
That was kind of funny
mattress.
how she said that. She was like, an air mattress on flat.
It was a flat air mattress.
Like, bruh, you wake up in the morning and it's on a flat.
On a
This.
flat. But yeah. So
You know. But let me just, as we round this out and say, you know, go on the record saying, and, you know, maybe this is just exposing my own need for some, you know, for some deliverance in this area. But, you know, it's very difficult when I look at men who we just have children, go out in their youth and do whatever they want to do. And then, like, as the children, they're not present for the children. And then later they want redemption for that, when it could have been so much easier to just involve themselves in the children's lives. And like, how is it that you sleep at night? Like, how do you not have a nagging feeling in the pit of your stomach that make you sick? They sleep real good up next to somebody else, you know, and the new kids that they made.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just this very, I just, you know, in the world of things that might make you a trash individual, that's like really toward the top of my list, really, aside from like murder and other things. It's horrible to me. So, you know, y'all might need to pray for me on that, because I know some of y'all in the comments probably would say something similar. But, you know, I'm gonna tell you, Tyler Perry always keeps us talking about these topics, and you know, and
he might
and
not
they
lay
never
them out
fail.
right, but he puts the issues in the movies.
That's
at
facts.
least. If you made it this far, type the gutter in the comments so we'll know you're one of the real ones who stick around to the end.
And be sure to check out one of the videos that's on the screen right now. And also be sure to visit axiom.app, where you'll find all of our recent videos in one place. And also you'll find our merch there as well, axiom.app.